Let's break down what may come next on the military front with our military analysts, Stephen Ganyard, who flew missions over Iraq, and retired Admiral Robert Harward, a Navy SEAL and Deputy Commander of Forces in the Middle East under the current Defense Secretary, James Mattis. And Steve, let me begin with you. This was a targeted strike, as Martha was pointing out earlier, 59 Tomahawk cruise missiles, more about sending a message than seriously harming the Syrian military.
I think that's exactly right, George. If you look at the airfield itself, it's quite contained. It's where the launches of the chemical attacks against civilians were made, and so this was the statement the president wanted to make. He certainly didn't do anything to degrade the military capability of the Syrian army by picking this target. This was something that was very contained and just within the airfield.
And Admiral Harward, there's so many complications on the ground right now. The Russians are on the ground right now. The United States had to make sure not to hit any Russians, have to worry about possible retaliation against American forces on the ground. And we heard just this morning from the Russians that they're suspending that agreement they had with the Americans to avoid incidents in the air between Russian and U.S. aircraft.
Well, George, this is a calibration. And again, the intent here wasn't just to punish. It was to deter future use. So everyone's assessing what happened last night, the impact. There are going to be some knee-jerk reactions. But at the end of the day, it's going to be tough to argue that the use of chemical weapons against civilians is condoned by anyone. So the president has the moral high ground, man. That's going to have a big impact with Russia. So give it a few days, a week or so to stabilize. I think it's going to be in everyone's interest to ensure there's no escalation beyond that objective.
So if it's in everyone's interest to assure no escalation, Stephen, that's what everybody is hoping for. But what possible next steps could the U.S. military pursue?
Well, the message has been sent, George. Remember back in 2013 that the Pentagon offered President Obama a whole wide range of military options, 2 days of campaign that would have used B-2s and other aircraft in addition to these cruise missiles. So there's lots more military firepower available to the president. We'll just have to see how Mr. Assad reacts to this smaller strike.
And Admiral Harward, of course, you were very aware of these plans when you were serving in the Central Command back in 2013. If the president did decide to escalate and talk about the policy of regime change against Assad, what kind of an operation would that take?
Again, I don't think they're focused on regime change, but we do have the capability to take out all of their military capabilities if that's what we need. And that's very valuable to Assad as he's fighting a tough insurgency. So he can't afford those losses, not because of us, but because of the problems he's got going on in the country. And I think he knows that. So I think the effectiveness of this strike will play out here in short order.
And George, I think one of the things we are all looking at is what is the strategy going forward. We can listen to Stephen, who can listen to Admiral Harward about the military strikes and what you do. But if Bashar al-Assad reacts, then do we do another military strike and a military strike after that? What is the overall plan? And I think that's what everybody's waiting to hear.
And it's very unclear right now. Okay, thank you all very much.